Rasheeda sat on the edge of the couch, her heart pounding as the shocking news sank in. She had always trusted Kirk, but seeing him kneel in front of Jasmine, asking for her hand in marriage, was something she never saw coming. It felt unreal, like something out of a twisted TV show. The room seemed to close in on her, the walls pressing in as memories of their struggles, successes, and shared dreams flashed through her mind. "Can you believe this?" Rasheeda whispered, her voice barely audible, trembling with emotion. Anger and heartbreak swirled inside her, threatening to break her composure. After everything they had been through, after all the times they had faced challenges together, how could he choose Jasmine over her? Her friends gathered around her, sensing the storm building inside. They tried to comfort her, offering words of support, but the pain of the betrayal ran deep. She had stood by Kirk for so long, weathering their ups and downs. She had been there when things were tough, when he needed her. And now, this was how it ended? Said, "I thought we were building a life together," she said, her voice shaking with a mix of disbelief and anger. How could he throw it all away for someone else? The pain was sharp, like a wound that wouldn't heal. One of her friends, Mia, leaned in closer, her voice gentle but firm. "Rasheeda, you deserve so much more than this. You've always been the foundation of this relationship. Don't let him take away your strength." Rasheeda wiped the tears from her face, feeling a flicker of anger rise within her. "You're right," she said, her voice growing stronger. "I won't let him define my worth. I'm done being the understanding wife. This is my wake-up call." The bitterness in her words was clear, but alongside it was a growing sense of strength. Her friends gathered around her, reminding her of everything she had done for their family, everything she had sacrificed. "You've been there through the highs and lows," Mia said. "You've put in the work, and now he's throwing it all away like it means nothing." As Rasheeda listened to Mia, the weight of the betrayal began to shift. "I gave him everything," she said, her voice gaining strength. "I was there when he needed me. I supported him through every business venture, through every scandal, and this is how he repays me?" The room was filled with a mix of sympathy and empowerment. Rasheeda stood up, wiping her face with the back of her hand. Determination filled her features. "I'll show him what he's missing. If he thinks he can just walk away, he's got another thing coming. I'm not gonna sit here and let him play the victim while he's out there living his best life with someone else." She paced the room, her mind racing. "It's time for me to take control of my life. If he wants a fairy tale with Jasmine, he can have it, but I'm rewriting my story." Her friends nodded in agreement, their support like armor against the pain. Rasheeda's voice was steady now, filled with resolve. "I won't let this define me. I'm gonna rise from this, stronger than ever. I deserve happiness too. I've spent so long trying to make him happy, trying to fix what's broken. But what about me?" Her friends continued to rally around her, brainstorming ways to help her reclaim her identity. Mia suggested, "Start focusing on your passions. Dive into your music, your business. You have so much talent and it's time to let it shine." So Shorty went to Bali. Rasheeda smiled through her tears, a sense of clarity beginning to wash over her. "You're right," she said softly. "I've put so much energy into him, but I have dreams of my own. It's time I invest in me." With every word, Rasheeda felt lighter. The betrayal still stung, but it no longer had the power to define her life. "I refuse to be a footnote in Kirk's drama," she declared, her voice steady. "He thinks he can break me, but I'm going to come back stronger, bolder, and unrecognizable." As they talked late into the night, planning her comeback, Rasheeda felt a shift inside her. The tension in the room was replaced with a sense of possibility. "I'm ready to reclaim my narrative," she said, her voice filled with conviction. "This isn't the end of my story. It's just the beginning of a new chapter." Her friends cheered her on, and in that moment, Rasheeda knew she would not only survive this heartbreak, but she would thrive despite it. With renewed purpose, she envisioned a future where her own dreams and aspirations took center stage. She would be the star of her own life, no longer defined by the man who had betrayed her. Rasheeda had finally reached her breaking point. After years of drama, betrayals, and endless cycles of hope and disappointment, she stood in her living room, arms crossed and heart pounding, ready to take a stand. The air was thick with tension, and the atmosphere crackled with unresolved emotions. Kirk, the man who had been her partner through thick and thin, now seemed more like a stranger than ever. "Enough is enough, Kirk," Rasheeda said, her voice steady but filled with a fire that could not be ignored. "I'm done with the lies and the games." She smiled. The moment hung in the air, heavy with unspoken words. Kirk, caught off guard by the strength in her voice, shifted uncomfortably. "Babe, let's talk about this," he pleaded, his voice shaky. He ran a hand through his hair, a familiar gesture that used to melt her heart. But not this time. Rasheeda was resolute. Her patience had worn thin after years of trying to fix what was broken. "You think you can just waltz back in here after everything? After all the times you've disrespected me?" Her eyes narrowed, and each word she spoke was filled with the venom of years of betrayal. The weight of everything she had endured poured out, and for the first time in a long while, she felt free. Kirk tried to appeal to Rasheeda's emotions, bringing up their years together and their shared history. "We have a family, Rasheeda. You can't just throw that away," he pleaded, hoping to tug at her heartstrings. But this time, Rasheeda wasn't falling for his emotional manipulation. She was done, and she wasn't backing down. "Anything? Family," she said, her voice rising with a mix of disbelief and anger. "You think a family thrives on lies and deceit?" She shook her head in frustration. "I've been more than patient with you. I've given you so many chances, and what have you done? You've taken my trust and stomped all over it." The fire in her eyes was unmistakable. For the first time, Kirk looked small and vulnerable. He could feel desperation creeping into his voice as he tried to salvage the situation. "I can change. Just give me another shot," he begged. But Rasheeda was no longer the woman who would forgive and forget. She had fought long and hard for her own self-worth, and she wasn't about to let him drag her back down. "Change?" she scoffed. "You've promised that before. I've held on to empty promises for way too long." Her heart raced with the weight of everything that had happened. The years of their tumultuous relationship had become a burden that she was no longer willing to carry. She felt liberated, empowered, and finally ready to reclaim her life. Kirk's frustration boiled over. "You'll regret this. You're making a huge mistake," he shot back, his voice rising in anger. But Rasheeda only smirked, a defiant glint in her eyes. "Regrets? I doubt it," she said, her words firm with newfound strength. "I'm finally free." A rush of adrenaline surged through her. With each word, she felt lighter, like she was shedding the toxic energy he had brought into her life. She stepped towards the door, her heart pounding, but this time it wasn't from fear. It was the excitement of taking control. "Fine. You want to kick me out? I show you what you're missing." Kirk, in a fit of rage, gathered his things, stuffing them into a duffel bag. The sight of him scrambling only fueled Rasheeda's resolve. She stood there watching him, knowing that the man in front of her was not the partner she had once loved. He was a shadow of the man she had hoped he would be. As he shoved clothes into his bag, the reality of their situation hit her. The love they once shared felt like a distant memory, overshadowed by betrayal and lies. Their every day had been filled with disappointment, and Rasheeda had finally reached her breaking point. The weight of the years seemed to lift off her shoulders, making room for hope and the possibility of new beginnings. "Go ahead and leave, Kirk," she said, her voice steady as she gestured towards the door. "I deserve better than this. I'm reclaiming myself."
It's Kirk's baby.
Kirk who? Kirk who?
Kirk Frost.
Space, my life, and I'm not looking back. With one final slam of the door, Kirk was gone. Rasheeda stood alone in the silence that followed.
Kirk, you have a baby by this girl.
Do I have a baby? Do I look like I got a baby by her?
Do you know her? Have you seen her before?
You don't know me?
I might have seen you in Atlanta.
Kirk, you don't know me.
Do I?
Her heart raced, but this time it was from excitement, not fear. She took a deep breath, feeling a rush of empowerment course through her veins. The echoes of their tumultuous relationship began to fade, leaving behind only the exhilarating promise of freedom and self-discovery. Outside, Kirk paced, the weight of his choices pressing down on him.
Somebody said you got a baby with some chick. And
What?
I'm thinking it's a joke. So I'm looking like, okay, really? I got a baby with a chick, cool. But then the broad come walking out the back.
Well, who is the broad?
Some drunk broad stumbling at the bar and like,
What's her name?
Jasmine.
He had lost more than just a place to stay. He had lost the woman who had once stood by him through thick and thin. The stakes had changed, and he knew he couldn't just waltz back into her life. Rasheeda was no longer the same woman he once knew. He was a force to be reckoned with, and he was about to learn that the hard way. The scene was set for a dramatic showdown with everyone watching. Would Kirk rise to the occasion and face the consequences of his actions, or would he spiral further into chaos? The drama between Kirk and Rasheeda was only getting more intense. Rasheeda was done with the lies and cheating, and now she was ready to move on. She was even filing for child support, a bold step after years of betrayal. Get here! According to Rasheeda, Kirk had become a serial cheater, a master of deception. She was so fed up that she didn't even want their kids around him anymore. This wasn't just another chapter in a reality show. This was Rasheeda taking a stand and making it clear that she was done with the nonsense. Let's not forget Kirk's history of lies. Who could ignore the time when Jasmine revealed to Carly Red that she had a child with Kirk? When Carly confronted him about it, he had the nerve to deny knowing Jasmine at all, acting as if she was a stranger. Kirk tried to twist the story, claiming it was all just a prank because he knew Carly would eventually tell Rasheeda everything. But Carly didn't back down. She came through with all the receipts, exposing the truth about Kirk and Jasmine's relationship. According to Carly, Kirk had met Jasmine at a strip club, slept with her, and then moved her into the building where Rasheeda lived. Jasmine had even spent time with Carter and met Kirk's family. But Rasheeda still didn't believe it. Carly showed her text messages from Kirk, but he had been using a second phone to hide his affair. Carly even had a video of Jasmine and Kirk with their child, and in it, Jasmine asked the baby to say hi to daddy. That was the final straw for Rasheeda, who now had undeniable proof that Kirk had been lying to her face. Standing there, reading through the messy text messages between him and Jasmine, Rasheeda was left in disbelief. How could he deny it when the proof was right in front of him? At this point, Rasheeda was done. She was fed up with his lies, his cheating, and his manipulation. She had been holding on for too long, trying to fix a relationship that was beyond repair. Now Kirk was facing the consequences of his actions, and there was no way out. This was about to get even messier, and everyone would be watching to see how it all played out.